Okay. Hello guys. Hello everyone. Welcome to the video. Mainly in this video, we are going to focus upon the TCS NQT coding questions. Right. So when we talk about the exam, there would be one question, and the time given to you would be 30 minutes. The questions that can be asked in the exam could be of the following nature. That is a number series program like 1 comma 2 comma 4, then 8, and then 16, 32, so on and so forth. Like it's the power of 2 or etc etc. A pattern program like 7, 8, 9, and then 4, 3, 2, and 1, or something like that, like a pattern printing program. Or like easier one would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Right, so these kind of, and then programs based on strings. So I'll just show you the string program itself. In this video, we are going to cover the string program, and then program based on matrices, right? Like find the, like if there are 1, 4, 7, 6, 5, 2, 7, 1, 3. So which row has the highest sum, or maybe which column has the highest sum? So these kind of questions. So in this particular video, we're going to focus upon the string programs. There are a couple of other videos as well. So I've shared the link of those videos in the description below. So make sure that you also watch them later. But let's at least first begin with this video. So in TCS coding questions, these are the following languages that you can use. That is C, C++, Java, Perl, and Python. Right. And one question, time given is 30 minutes. The question is going to be a little more difficult than it was for last year, because they've increased the time for the exam, that is 10 minutes increase. And also the digital exam is also happening with Ninja exam as well. So, for digital profile, which has a higher package, they want to judge your coding skills a little more. So it could be a little difficult. Maybe it would be easy. It depends upon the exam, but still you should be ready for the difficult exam, for the difficult question in the exam. Right. So this was one of the questions that was asked in TCS exam last year. So the program is like, you will receive 3 words as inputs from stdin, 3 words, that is basically strings. You have to convert. You have to read the 3 words at a time in 3 separate lines. So all of this is important. 3 separate lines is important, and 1 word at a time is important. Right. The first word should be changed, like all the vowels should be replaced by hash. So if, let's say, the word is, for example, they've taken how are you. So in the first word, you have to change the vowels to hash. So your how will change to this. Right. The second word, you have to change it to this hash program, hash thing. And then in the third word, you have to change to upper letters. So you would be changing like capitalize, right? And in the next one, A, R, E. So all the consonants should be changed. So hash. So this would be your output. So I'll just explain you a little more about this in the next page. So this is basically the brief, right? So how, and then are, and then you. So the first word has to change, like this percentage has to come here. So it would change as this. And then next word, only consonants are supposed to change. So consonants are R, A and E are vowels. So this would happen, and then you will change as you. And then finally you have to concatenate them. So you have to merge them together. So you have to merge, there should not be any empty space between them. Like, if you write how are you, so you give space, right? It should not be there. So the answer would be this. And you. So this would be the answer. So let's see how we can do this. So these are the basic how we will take the input. So first of all, we are working with strings importantly. So with strings you have to include so obviously you have to include this, include stdio, because you have to always include that. Printf, scanf, and all of that, and not just printf, scanf. There are many other things that are in stdio. Then you have to also include string.h, because you are working with strings in this, right? So this also has to be included. So apart from that, then we will name 3 arrays which are of character types. A10 for the first word, B10 for the second word, C10 for the third word, right? And then we are declaring these two variables. I'll just tell you later what exactly are we using these two. So these are mainly for the for loops that we will use, right? And then these three integers as well. So to get the length of the word read, right? So initially, instead of using printf and scanf, since we are working with strings, you use gets, gets, and then a. So what automatically happens? You can also use printf, enter the first word and then gets, then printf, enter the second word and then gets, then printf enter the third word and then gets. But ideally, it's not very important because you're not displaying it, you're not beautifying the program, right? So which is why these gets, so the how will come here, then R will come here, and then U will come here. So these are the three inputs that we are using. And then since we have to run these two for loops, and I'll show you in the exam, in the question later, how we are using these for loops with this int and I. You also, for any for loop, for I is equals to 0 and I is less than n and I plus plus. A for loop is of this form. So to calculate this n till where it should run, what we are doing is, for the first two words, we are calculating the length of those words. So by strlen, we can calculate the length. So for how, the value of x would be 3, and then let's say r, the value of y would be 3 again. If had it been, instead of r, had it been Atulya, in this case the value would have had been 6 for yeah, my word has 6 letters, my name has 6 letters, so the value of I would have had been 6 in that case, right? So this is how you would take the input. I'll show you the whole program later. First, I'm just trying to break it down to help you understand how you're going to take each thing one by one. Then for the first logic, that is the logic to convert all the vowels to this remainder or percentage thing, right? So first, obviously, like I told you, you got the input in gets, then you stored the value in x by strlen. So let's say how, so in this case the value of x is 3, right? Then you iterate the loop from I is equals to 0 to n. So let's say for how, when the loop runs for I is equals to 0, what you are doing is a of 0 is h here, right? So let me just use a different color of pen, just so that yeah, so this a of I, right, wherever we are using this, a of I happens to be this value, or in the first one, when the I value is 0, instead let me use black color, when the I value is 0, right? So a of I, that is 0, is h. When let's say I plus plus happens, then a of 1 becomes O, then a of 2 becomes W. So this is how you are checking. So first you are checking if a of I is any of A, E, I, O, U, and remember you have to use this in between, because for strings comparison, equal to comparison is only valid if you do this without this. In that case, it will compare the ASCII value, but we are not comparing the ASCII value, we are matching that if it's same or not. So which is why we will use single quotes for basically A, E, I, O, U. So first, for how, a of 0 is h. So any of these do not match, right? So this if loop will not be there. Now for a of 1, which is O, right? In this case it will check, it's not checking, because these are OR conditions, not AND. These are OR conditions. Then finally it happens to be true here, right? Since these all are OR conditions, if any of one is true, the if condition will satisfy and it will come here. So what they are saying is, now change a of 1 to hashtag, and then again in single quotes, right? This is important. So what happens is h hashtag, this is HOW is changed into a of hashtag. Then again for a of 2 is changing it, the W is not matching with any of these, so we don't do anything, and then the if loop condition is not satisfied, and then this does not get changed, right? So then again, for the consonants part, we do the same thing, but instead of A, E, I, O, U, we write everything else. So of all the 26 alphabets in A, B, C, D, right, 25 of them are vowels, but 21 of them are consonants. So we will write all of them one by one. So B of J. So this loop we are iterating in J. So I told you for last one was in I, this one is in J, right? So we started from the first consonant that happens to be B, then C, then D, E, F, G, so on, so forth, etc. till finally Z. We will write all of those under condition. There is no other way. You have to write all of them, right? So then it checks the second word is R, right? So firstly it goes here A of, and then the the Y value here, in fact strlen B. So this would be here. Then the A of I value, or in fact B is here, right? So just this is Y and this is B. So B of 0 for ARE, right, is A. So it goes inside this loop, it checks all of these conditions. Obviously A is not a consonant, so this will not be implemented. Then it is like this. Then B of 1 is R, right? So it checks all of them. Somewhere in the middle R would be there, so this condition is satisfied because or is there, right? So in this case it gets changed to hashtag. And then same again, E is a vowel, so obviously it will not be found here, so which is why you go ahead with the next, you do not implement this. So finally ARE gets changed to A hashtag E, right? And then this is written a little wrong, it should be YSTRLENB. So this was copied from the next slide, which is why I forgot to change it. But instead of X, you change it to Y. Instead of this, you change it to B. Don't worry, I will show you the whole program later in the video, and I'll also give you the copy paste thing of it as well, right? So then again, the final condition wherein you have to change it to uppercase. Now first, we are not using a for loop here. I just wanted to demonstrate you a little better way to implement it. Whenever you store any string, let's say final is U, right? So how it is stored in any particular, it is stored in array of a character type. So it is stored like this. A of 0 will have, obviously there are 3 characters in it. A of 0 will have U, Y. A of 1 will have O, A of 2 will have U. There will be also one more thing, that is A of 3, which will automatically be backslash 0. So this is a nomenclature of how we write in C, C++, in fact even in Java, right? The string always terminates with a backslash 0, right? So what you are saying, while C of Z is not equal to 0, keep doing all of this, right? So what it will do, it will check for this, not 0, it will check for this, not 0, it will check for this, not 0, not backslash 0 in fact, and then finally the last one would be backslash 0. It checks for this and terminates here. It is not implemented here, right? So this will again run 3 times. Okay, so what they are doing is, if C of Z is less than or equal to A of I, so what it is now doing is, it is also cross checking the ASCII value here, because there is greater than less than sign, and in fact not even in ASCII value this works properly. Okay, so what you will just simply do is, if your number, let's say YOU, is greater than or equal to A, that is, let's say A, B, you write A, B, C, D, dash, 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 X, Y, Z. So U falls here, right, which is greater than, obviously because it is coming here, so obviously this condition is satisfied, and less than or equal to Z, right? So because it is coming after Z, so this is also satisfied, if that is true. So what you are trying to do is, in A, B, C, D, all the numbers till X, Y, Z, and since we've also applied equal to condition here, right, so A and B will also incancate. You're saying all the strings that have a ASCII value in this particular range, or that are equal to or less than in this particular range, you apply this for all of them. Now what happens is, this C of Z is equals to C of Z minus 32. So let me just give you an example. What happens is, if you search ASCII table, okay, let me go to images and open any one of these. Okay, so this is not a good representation of it. Okay, so maybe you can see here is that let's say the first A is 41 and then next way is 61. So A and A are defined by one particular rule, that all the capital letters, let's say A plus 32 will be small a automatically, right? So this is basically, if you want to get a capitalization of any letter, so you can just add 32 to it, automatically it will come. Or sorry, if you want to get a small letter of anything, just add 32. But in this case, we have to do a little opposite. So what we'll be doing, we'll be subtracting 32, right? So if let's say U is there, so to get capital U ASCII value, we subtract 32 from here and automatically capital Y will be coming. So this is a fact. Remember this fact, it is constant throughout all the languages that are there, right? So automatically when you apply this particular code minus 32, your U will change to Y capital, O capital and U capital, and then one by one it will change. So first it will do for A of 0, that is Y will change to capital Y, right? Then it will do for A of 1, then Y will change, O will change to capital O, and then finally A of 2, then it will change U to capital U. Then finally this is not a for loop, this is a while loop. So first it will check what is A of 3. It checks that A of 3 is backslash 0, right? So it will not implement this and then terminate itself, right? So here you will just change it to uppercase, right? So this is how it essentially works. Now if I am to see just show the code, what happens, include studio, as I told you, include string happens, ABC you initialize, then I or J to iterate the loop, X Y Z to store all the three lens, though we did not use Z, but in that case it's fine. Then gets ABC to store all the three things. So this is basically scanf or cin or system in C, right? Then XY to calculate the length. Then this particular thing works for changing vowels to percentage operator. Then this particular, as I told you, so you have to write all the 21. So this is, as you can see, is really long, right? I had to write it 21 times. So all this will change all your consonants to this. Then finally, when you write while minus 32, it will change all your letters to capitalized letters, right? So finally, I ran the program. Let me just do it again for you. Okay, so I'll run the program here again. So I'll write it as how and press enter. So one statement per line is satisfied as was given in the question. You can't just simply write how space R space U. Your test cases will fail in this case. You have to read the question very properly, how to give inputs as well. Then R in the next line, and then so it gets stored. Till now it is getting stored in gets of A, gets of B, it is getting stored, and then finally U I am writing. And when I press enter, it just perfectly prints all of this. So one mistake I have made here is that I did not concatenate them, right? So this particular thing I'll give you as a homework, that how would you, or rather than printing here, instead of that, you have to learn how to use concatenate and then finally print how are you. So the output, my output is incorrect here, and I've done that on purpose. The actual output should have had been H percentage W and then A, then hashtag R E and then Y O U. So this should have had been the correct output according to the question. If I am printing this, all my test cases will fail because they are saying concatenated and no spaces in between. So maybe a lot of you who are very witty but maybe missing out on a minor detail, right? So just check that. So I hope that this video was really helpful for you. There are two other videos that we've taken on the coding section, so you can find the link of that in the description below. The page on which you can find the code is all the code, not just in C but in C++, Java, Perl and Python. I've already also given that in the description below, so make sure that you find all of that as well and practice that. Those two videos, other two videos are also there on YouTube, but I'll also suggest you that we cover even more questions in our online classes. In fact, a lot of coding questions, not just in coding question, for quantitative aptitude, English and programming MCQs also. We have a 72 hours course that we have, and currently we are running a 25% discount, the link to which you can find in the description below. Automatically 25% discount will be applied for you on that particular link, right? So that course is 72 hours. We start the coding from very basics in that particular course and take you to advanced level. Even in the quantitative aptitude section, anybody can solve a quantitative aptitude question given he knows the formulas and practices. But you would solve that in 1 minute or 1 minute half and or 2 minutes. What we mainly focus in our online classes, how do you solve that question that you would have taken 2 minutes for within 15 seconds? So we teach a lot of shortcuts like chocolate method, butterfly method, spello method, etc., etc. There are 35 other methods that we teach to you in that online class, and with that you will be able to solve any question within 15 seconds. Not any question, but most of the question within 15 seconds. So for example, this question was asked in TCS Ninja exam or NQT exam last year, right? So consider the following series, and then this series is given, and then you have to print any you have to print this series or a particular number in this series. So for example, if they tell you that take an input from the user as in n, and the value of n is 7, so print the seventh number, that is first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. So this is the seventh number, you have to print it. If the user decides to enter the value as 11th, then 8, 9, 10, 11, then this thing you have to print. So I'll tell you how the series is going by further in the video. Okay, so here for better representation, we've put all of these number series here, right? So for example, what we are doing essentially here is this is number series 0, 0, 2, 1, 4, 2, 6, 3, 8, 4, right? So what is happening here, if you only look at the odd positions, that is 0, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. So at all of these odd positions, this is starting with number 0, and at exactly next position we are doing +2, and then we are doing +2 again from the previous value, and then we are doing +2 again from the previous value, and then the same thing is happening all over, right? So this is what is happening for the cream areas, right? For the blue areas, what is happening is, for this position that is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, if you look at them, so what is happening here is from the previous value, right, that is here, you are dividing it by 2, that is 0 divided by 2 is again 0, so which is why 0 is coming here. Then again for the fourth position, the third position value is 2, so 2 divided by 2 is again, that is 1, so which is why you get the value 1 here. Then again for this value, the fifth position value number is 4, so 4 divided by 2 again is 2, so which is why you are getting 2 here. So what we are going to do to solve this particular question, we've initialized two variables, that is a is equals to 0 and b is equals to 0, and we will use this a to print out the values of this odd position, that is 0, 3, 5, 7, so on. And then these b values we are going to use for the even position, that is what I have marked in the blue color, right? So let us begin with this particular question, right? So firstly, obviously I'm going to explain you the logic, the algorithm for it, and then we will look at the the coding question itself or the code itself, right? So as I explained you, first we are going to initialize one more variable apart from a is equals to 0 and b is equals to 0, that is n, and then we are going to ask the user what is the value of n. If we, let's say, enter 7, so basically he's asking us to print this seventh value, that is 6 will be printed. Also this n will be used in this for loop to iterate till the boundary condition, right? So initially we also initialize one variable, that is I. Now we are using this I to iterate upon this for loop. So this for loop is for I is equals to 1, that is initializing I is equals to 1, and then I is less than equal to n till the boundary condition, and then after everything we are just incrementing it, right? So this I, we are also going to use further in this for loop. There are going to be one if else condition, right? This first if condition we are going to use to print out these values, that is in the cream color. This cream color also denotes this cream color, that is the odd values here. And this else condition, we are going to print out the values for the even positions, that is 2, 4, 6, and then this blue color I have identified this as here, right? So initially what happens is, first when the for loop runs, I value is 1, right? So it comes and goes, it comes to this if loop or if condition, right? So 1, that is I value is 1 right now. So 1 percentage 2, right? So there's a difference between percentage and division. So I hope all of you know that percentage is basically the remainder. So when we divide 1 by 2, the remainder comes out to be 1, right? So which is 1 is not equal to 0, which is true. So it implements this loop itself, right? For the second iteration, when I becomes 2, right? So when we do the same thing, 2 percentage 2 is equals to 0. Now 0 not equal to 0 when we solve this, right? So this if condition is not satisfying, which is why it goes to here, right? So which is why whenever there is, which is why on 1, when I values is 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, it implements this if loop. That is the same color that I have represented. When the I value is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, so on and so forth. It could be, forever, right? We are going to print out, we are going to go to the else condition and apply this logic. And then when otherwise, apply this logic, right? So firstly, I have just explained you how this for loop works when we go to this particular logic and how we go to this particular logic. Now I'm going to explain you these particular, what is happening in these particular logics, right? So initially when I value is, again, when we start from basic, that is I value is 1. So what happens is, obviously it goes inside this loop, right? So we check if I is greater than 1. So 1 is not greater than 1, right? So which is why this particular loop or this particular statement will not be implemented, right? A value currently before entering in this loop is 0, as we had defined it initially, right? So one value is not, had it been equal to condition or there, so in that case this would have had been implemented, but this is not the case, right? So initially a equal to 0, so 0 is printed. So initially we at least got this, right? Then again, when I value is 2, so obviously it goes back to this particular loop, right? So what we are doing is, so b is equals to a by 2, correct? A value previously was 0, so 0 divided by 2 is 0 again, so also this is printed. Then when I value is becomes 3, correct? So what happens is, it goes inside this loop, correct? Now I value is greater than 1 right now, correct? So this is being implemented. So a is equals to, initial a value was 0, 0 plus 2. So a new a value becomes 2. So a new value is 2. So what happens is, we print 2, correct? Then when I value is 4, so what happens, it goes inside that loop. B is equals to, new a value in the last one is 2 here. So 2 divided by 2 is 1. So which is why we have printed this, this, this and this. Finally, for the last time I'm explaining, when I value is 5, right now the previous a value was 2, right? So it go, and the I value is obviously greater than 1. So a is equals to a plus 2. The initial a value is 2. So 2 plus 2 is equals to 4. So this a is equals to 4 is printed. So we've also printed this, and then again, 4 divided by 2. So what we are going to do is, this would be printed, that is 2 would be printed. So this is how it essentially works here, right? So what I'll also do, I'll explain you the code. I've already written the code for you, and I'll explain you iteratively, right? So this code is in C, but the logic is the same for every language that we are using, right? So C and C++ are more or less the same. So essentially all that you change is printf and scanf. So this is working perfect for you for C, C++. Apart from others, you can apply the same logic. So initially, obviously include studio.h to use printf and scanf, then int main, then we initialize 3 variables I, n, or we declare these variables I and n, and then we also declare and initialize a is equals to 0 and b is equals to 0. So that is what is happening. Then we are asking the user to enter the number. Let's say he is asking to print us the 7th position. So he enters n value as 7 and we store it using this printf and scanf statements, right? Now what we do is we use this for loop, right? So for loop is being used, and then this if condition to go, as I told you in the previous one, right? This if condition is nothing but uh, this particular area to print out the values that we have here, correct? So this if I percentage 2 to print out the odd values, and then if I is greater than 1, so we check that if I is greater than 1, we check this condition and then we increment the value, right? So this is because we want to print the initial 0 by declaration, right? And then this else condition comes, that is for the even values, right? And then finally we are printing it. So this whole loop runs, let's say I value is 7, so this whole loop runs 7 times, right? So if then again for the 7th position, if we are to print from the previous loop, that is this one, then in that case again we are using the same logic. If n percentage 2 is not equal to 0, it prints the value of a, and else it is not that, it prints the value of b. So in this case 7th position is nothing but this 6 value, so which is why it goes inside this particular loop, right? Because 7 percentage 2, if I denote down to you, 7 percentage 2 is 1, right? And 1 is not equal to 0, right? So this condition is satisfied, which is why it will go in this loop and then printf the last stored value of a for us, which happens to be 6. So 6 will be printed. So on if the value was 8, right? So in that case 8 percentage 2 is equals to 0, and 0 is not equal to 0. So this condition is not satisfying, which is why it goes inside this loop and then prints b a by 2. This would have had been implemented at the very last, so which is why it prints 3. Right, so this is the logic for this question. Consider the following series, and this is the series 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 9, 8, 27. So first you have to decode this series. This is a geometric progression. I'll tell you how this series is going in the next slide. So they'll give you a question like this, and then also they'll ask you to print the nth term in this particular series, right? Let's say if they give you the value as, say, print out the 11th term in the series. So 11 terms I think happens to be 32. So you just have to print 32, not the whole series, right? But then again you have to build the logic for the whole series. So right, so this is what I'm going to tell you. So for example, in the previous question, so this is the question that we are going to take. For your help, I have put them in boxes and have named them, right? So what is happening exactly here is this is the first position, second, third, so on and so forth, and then this series can go on later, till the end, right? So what is happening here, if you look at the odd positions only, that is this position, this, and this. So what is happening here is first number is 1, then for the second one you are multiplying this by 2, so the answer happens to be 2. For the next one you are again multiplying it by 2, so answer happens to be 4. For the next one you are again multiplying it by 2, so it's 8, and then 16, and then obviously 32, and then 64, 128, so on and so forth, right? So it's very basic, right? But on the even positions, that is this and this, right? So what you are doing here is you are multiplying it by 3. So first number is 1, then you are multiplying by 3, so answer is 3. Then you are also again multiplying by 3, so answer is 9. Then you are again multiplying by 3, so answer is 27, then 81, then 243, and then I think 729, and so on and so forth, right? So this is what the logic of the program is in terms of decoding the program, right? So let's begin with this program itself. So what we are also going to use is we are going to use two variables, that is a and b. A we are going to use to store or print out the values here at, that is at the odd positions, or the colors that I've also highlighted. I've used cream color for this position, and then again B we are going to use for the blue color, that is the even positions here, right? These positions. Correct. So let's look at the algorithm first. I'll try to teach you how to apply the logic in the code, and then I'll teach you the whole code itself, or then I'll show you the whole code itself. Okay, so let's try to understand what happens, how we apply the logic and the algorithm of the code itself, right? So what we are doing is initially, we are going to name a variable n, and then we are going to take an input from the user that which number or which value do you want to, if let's say if you want to print out the 11th value here, so enter the value 11, and it will get stored in n, right? Now this n we will also use in the for loop. So there is a for loop, and then inside there's an if else condition, right? So first let me explain the for loop. For loop, what happens is, for I is equals to 1. So we start the loop from I, and then iterate it till I is less than and equal to n. That is, it will go on till 11 if the value of n is 11, and then after every for loop iteration gets completed, we are going to do I plus plus, right? So this is how we are iterating upon this, and then this, and then this, and then this, so on and so forth, right? But again, there are different logics. For here it is getting multiplied by 2, and for here it is getting multiplied by 3, right? So we have to identify the same as well. That is, for the odd positions we have to apply this particular logic, and for the even positions we have to apply this particular logic. So that is what we solve by conditional formatting, that is if else condition. So what is happening here is, this is also, here also we are using I, right? So initially when I value is equals to 1, what happens is, if we evaluate this I percentage 2, right, which happens to be, that is 1%, or in fact let me write here 1% 2. So there's a difference between percentage and divide. Percentage essentially gives you remainder. So 1, when we divide 1 by 2, the remainder is 1, right? So 1 is not equal to 0. So which is true. So which is why if this if condition happens to be true, so this logic will be applied. When I value becomes 2, right? So in that case 2% 2 is 0, and 0 is not equal to 0, which is why this if is failing, right? So false value comes here. So which is why here it is iterating. So which is why again, for all the odd positions it is going inside this loop, and for the all even positions it is going inside this loop automatically, right? So now what we do is, let's say I value initially was 1 for us, right? So when we go inside this loop, it checks if I equals to 1. Yes, currently I equals to 1, so a value is 1. So we are also defining a value. Initially we just declared a previously in the program that I'll show you when I show you the code, but a value right now is 1, and then else condition obviously is not coming, so a value is equals to 1. Eventually if had been n value had been 1, so a is equals to 1 is the final value that we have, so 1 would have had been printed here. Now then again, if when I value is equals to 2, so what happens, it comes to this loop. Now what they are saying is, if I value is equals to 2, do b is equals to 1, right? So what happens at this again, this else loop is not implemented because this condition is satisfying. So b value is equals to 1. So what happens is 1 and 1. So both these two values we are getting, right? So then again, when I value is equals to 3, so what happens is, it comes inside this loop, right? If I is equals to 1, now this is not getting implemented because 3 is not is equals to 1 is not satisfied. So it comes here. Initial a value, before it we had a is equals to 1 before the previous loop. So what it is doing, a is equals to previous a value was 1 for us, 1 multiplied by 2. So finally a value is coming to be 2, and then 1 1 2 is getting printed here. Then again, when I value is equals to 4, that is for this position. So again the same thing happens. This is not implemented because 4 is not equal to 2. Then what happens, previous b value was 2 here because the 1 here, right? Because here it was 1. So we multiplied b is equals to 1 into 3, that is b is equals to 3, and then what happens is 1 1 then 2, and then 3. So this all is printed. Then again, I'll just explain you a couple of more and then we are done. When I value is 5, what happens is previous I value or A value is 2 here. So A is equals to 2 into 2, that is 4. That is A previous value stored was 2 for us, right? So again 4 is printed here. Again, if we go to I value as 6, right? So it comes here, previous B value was 3 that was stored here. So again B is equals to 3 into 3, that is 9, and then it comes to be 9, then so on so forth. It comes as 8, then it comes as 27, then it comes as 16, and then it comes as 81, and so on so forth. So this is building, right? So for example, now I'll just show you the code in C. The logic remains the same, so C++ are more or less the same. For the other codes of Python, Perl and Java, we put a link in the description below, so you can find all the codes there itself. And I'll just explain you how this particular code is working. So initially, obviously, include studio int main. We realized we declared uh, not initialize. We only declared I, N, A, and B. We asked the user to enter which number he wants to print and stored it inside N, right? And then we asked him to run the for loop that I was talking to you about. And then this is the for loop. This is the if condition. If the user wants to go inside this if, inside this cream area, that is, or he goes to this else condition, that is for the even terms here. Now the same logic is being applied. If I is equals to 1, we initialize A is equals to 1. Else we multiply it by 2 iteratively every time. Right. Finally, the same thing happens. If I is equals to 2, we initialize B as 1, and then iteratively, if not, then we multiply it by 3 again and again. Then again, finally, here we are doing same thing, that if you want to print the, let's say if you want to print the 11th position, right? So in that case, 11 percentage 2 is equals to 1, right? So which is why this will go inside this loop and it will print here, right? Because it will print these values, this A value, right? If it was 12, then 12 divided by 2 is equals to 0, and 0 is not equal to 0, right? So this is failing, it goes to else, and then it prints this value. So here it is printing A value, or and just give me one second. And here it is printing B values for this else condition. So this is how the whole coding logic is working for this particular question. There are more type of questions that we have given on the page in the description below. So make sure that you visit all of those pages. Right. And if you have questions, please feel free to ask us in the comment section. I or my team will reply to you. And the coding logics is already given in the video. If you want the code in C, C++, Java, Perl, Python, the link of that is in the description below. And there are 2 more videos that we've made for people. Those also can be found in the description as well. But we cover a lot many other coding questions, and the whole syllabus of TCS in our online classes, and there's a 72 hours of online course that we take. So if you're interested in that, please make sure that you join that. 91% of the people who get selected in TCS, or 91% of the people who join our online classes finally get selected in TCS. When you compare to people who are not joining Prep Insta's online classes, the number is 7%. So 7% of the people who apply to TCS eventually get selected, and we have 91%. So there's a very vast difference between 2 numbers. So obviously we are doing something right there. So the link to the online classes can also be found in the description below. We have 25% discount running right now, and that discount link also is provided. So if you click on that link, that 25% discount already would be provided to you, right? So make sure that you like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share the video with your friends as well. And if you have questions, you can always ask us in the comment section. Thank you.